In today's video, I'm going to show you how to recover a car headliner that is sagging using the T65 as a headliner adhesive. So this will also show you the coverage you get out of one can, and based on our trial, we suggest that one can will do a ute and 2 cans will do a sedan, because this is quite a small sedan that we're working on today, and we used 1 1/4 cans. So I would suggest 2 cans for a sedan, and then for a wagon I would suggest 2 to 3 cans for a wagon as well. On these cans you can actually adjust the spray nozzle, so you can have like low, medium and high. We suggest to use the high because that will just give you a greater width when you're spraying, and you don't have to backtrack too much. So those other 2 cans that we got in the background, they're basically the other 2 glues that we do recommend as well. So you got the 3M High-Tack 76, and then you got the Permatex Carpet and Headliner Adhesive. They're great products too, but we're just showing you the T65 today and the coverage you get out of this one. So the T65 is the 500ml can, so it's slightly less volume than those 2 in the background there, but it does a great job. So I would ideally start with using all the safety gear, so respirator, gloves, overalls, or the apron. So with the headliner board removed out of the car completely, you want to then remove the old material that is sagging, and you can use that as a template or just measure it up so you know how much material you got to buy. We also do sell the fabric for headliners, and we sell that T65 glue now as well. You can find all those products and links to those products in our description below or the comment section. We will make a start by cleaning this board with a straw brush, so just a handheld straw brush, and we've got a soft brush there as well. We used an air blower just to blow it clean. Then we're going to use the soft brush just to brush the rest of the fibers off the board to get a nice clean surface. The better the preparation here and cleaning the board is going to make a long-term hold with the new glue and material that you do add. So make sure you do get it completely clean, get off any of the dust and all the old orange foam that might be sitting on the material still. That's why we also do like to finish it off with that straw handheld soft brush. I'm grabbing an orbital sander now because on this board someone has added their own glue previously, and it's kind of created a bit of a gunk on the board, and you just got to sand it down. Not all boards can withstand sanding, so just be careful there, because some boards can be torn up as soon as you hit it with something quite aggressive. So just know your tolerance there and what you can get away with. Even with that straw brush, there are some boards that as soon as you hit it too rough, you're going to dig up the board and damage the board itself. So that's usually seen on things like the earlier Holden Statesmans and the earlier Ford Falcon ELs. The boards are quite easy to be damaged as well. Grab your material, lay it on your job. Grab a cylinder in the middle to fold it halfway, 50%. The cylinder actually prevents any creasing when you do fold it. So this is our T65 can, 500ml. So prior to use, you want to give that can a good shake, and then when you pop off the cap, make sure the nozzle is set to the greatest width. That's what we prefer to use, so it's up to you guys, but we like it when it comes out and gives a broad spray pattern. Give it a quick test, especially if you've used it before, because sometimes you've got to clean the nozzle out once you've used it, put it back on the shelf, then you've got to use it again, and because it can come out on a bit of an angle, so you just want to make sure the nozzle's all clean, it's all coming out right. So we're going to make a start by spraying this board on the width pattern up and down, overlapping about 50% each time, and then we're going to spray again in the lengthways, overlapping about 50% each time, and then once again in the high stress areas. So on the back of the can, it probably does suggest otherwise, to use maybe a bit less glue than what we're using today, but we find from experience that this way of doing things is going to make the product work long term. So we're just spraying up and down, overlapping about 50% each time, and you can see it's coming out quite a neat width there. So that's what you want to try achieve. And you can see the distance that we're spraying from the board as well. It's probably only about 20 centimeters from the board. Now we're just spraying again in the high stress areas. This is anywhere where the material has to kind of like bend, so it goes around any of the parts where the sun visors might be recessed or the grab handles. We're spraying the back of the material as well. So this is contact adhesive, most glues are, so you got to spray the back of the material and also the board itself. If you miss out on one of those things, the material and the glue is just not going to work. This T65 product is great. We use it every day. We actually use it through a massive 20-litre canister. So it's the same product, but instead of buying it each can at a time, we're buying it through like a 20-litre drum almost. It's like a large aerosol can with its own fed hose line and gun. And then all you do is when you finish that product, you just buy your next 20 litres, but you use the same gun and the same hose. And yeah, it's a great product because it's got a low odor to it, so you don't even smell it up the road. It's actually very low odor. So it does say on the can that it's also low toxicity as well, so it's not as toxic as maybe other glues. It also has a fast dry time, so you can see that we're ready to stick this job down straight away as soon as we sprayed it. The benefit as well though is that you can actually rip up the material and start again, because it doesn't bond straight away like say the Permatex or the 3M, where if you stick it down you're going to have a hard time lifting it back up. So yeah, that's what makes the T65 ideal, is you can just basically if you've made a mistake, you can lift it back up. If you need to, you can spray a bit more glue again and then have another bite at it. So it's great for the convenience of use of this product. Also, through the massive 20-litre canister, there's no compressor as well, so there's no sound to spraying the glue, where the old-fashioned way of tipping the glue into the guns and running a compressor is quite noisy. It gets quite stinky as well, especially if people are adding like thinners to the product to try to thin it down and make it last longer. So we just based buying our glues on how good they are and also the convenience of the use of them as well. So yeah, we're just sticking down that material. So you can see here we're kind of like lifting with one hand, positioning the material into place, and then using the other hand to push it down and feed it into all the individual shape of the board. You want to feed it into that shape, because if you go too tight, it's actually not going to stick down. So you actually want to let it fall into all the little corners and the shadows really naturally, almost like water. You just want to let it feed in there without applying too much tension and too much stress on the material. So we are done with one side now. We're going to rotate this board and then fold the other side, the 50% of the other side, back over again. And we're pretty much good to spray the back of that material. Watch out here, because see how it's a bit less than half. So if we were to spray too close to the edge, we're going to get the glue on the other surface. So you can either lay a blanket down here or just be really strategic with the way you're spraying and make sure that you don't spray on your material that you've already that's exposed, that's on the other side. So same thing guys, you just spray the board and the material again, overlapping 50% each time, doing the left to right and then up and down, and then once again in the high stress areas. Not all jobs we use the T65 on, so there are some jobs that we do convert back to the Permatex or the 3M76, or even a brush on glue, and that would be on the Audi boards or the Volkswagen Tiguan and Touareg, because we've done a previous video about the boards having a bit of a oily substrate to them, and what happens is the T65 doesn't like to be sprayed on any high stress areas where the board's got that bit of a oily substrate to it, so we find that it would fail. So we use the T65 on those boards in the flat surface, but we also use the brush on grade glue or the 3M Permatex in the high stress areas of the overhead consoles, anywhere there's deep recesses like the grab handles. So yeah, that was on one of our previous videos to this video that we're uploading now. So if you want to, if you're doing maybe a job that's like an Audi or a Volkswagen, I would probably suggest don't get the T65. Just stick with your Permatex or your 3M, because it's going to be overall a greater hold on those jobs with that type of board. So yeah, we're just finishing off the spraying here. We can see how we've got the glue can angled towards the back of the board. That way we can avoid spraying on that little piece that's exposed at the front. We've also got our hand there as a buffer as well, just to avoid that. If you're looking for more about the process of how to recover a car headlining, where we leave no stone unturned, we'll show you the exact materials to use, the common problems to avoid, and just pretty much all the steps that are involved in the recovery process and the removal and the reinstall. If you're looking for all those steps, there are also videos, pictures and text to follow along with that are suited for each individual car that we have so far uploaded to the book. So it's an ebook online course called Headlining Secrets, and you can find the link to that product. You can download it straight away, get access to it straight away. It'll be on our website, so the link to that product would be in the description below or the comment section, and that would just be called Headlining Secrets. So we're just finishing off this job now and pushing down. A good tip to do is once you've finished feeding the material into the board and it's all lined up, it's all done perfect, I would suggest then grab a rag, so maybe an offcut of the material. So just see you got offcuts on the actual end there, just cut it off, piece like that, just cut it off, fold it up. It's almost like a sponge pad now, and you want to be using that to push down on the material now. So you want to go around the whole job and push down really tight to the material to make sure that you haven't forgot to push the material down, and that would actually help it stick to the board. So if you miss that step later on down the track, say a couple months, you're going to probably find that you might have a couple of saggy spots, because that's a very important step to do. Also, we like to overlap the material around the edges, so the front and the rear and the side edges, so about an inch, and also stick down any of the loose insulation on the back of the board. So once that's all done, it's always good to, the boards actually look their best after a few warm days, because it allows the material kind of to settle and expand, and all the imperfections and dents and creases will slowly dissolve themselves out. So this job is freshly done, but it's going to look its best after a few warm days. So you just install it back in the car and the job will look perfect after a few days. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video.